Hey everyone, how's it going? It's been a hot minute since I've been on YouTube, but Zenless Zone Zero has been out for at least a week now, and I know a lot of you are still on the fence about downloading the game, if it's worth playing, and if it'll be a game that'll outlast or at least be able to keep up with other gachas, especially other Hoyoverse games. So I'm here to share with you some thoughts, opinions, pros, cons, etc. about the game. That way you can get an idea on whether you think the game will be a good fit for you, or whether it's better to pass up on it. Just as a reference, I have accessed up to a portion of Chapter 2, so I've been at least playing the game for a while now. I can start farming for some gear, level up my characters, etc., so at least you know I have a decent starting point. So I guess to get started, we'll start off with the pros. Gonna get the characters out of the way because literally they are absolutely great. Each character has really unique attack animations, the combo strings, which are, I'd say, very similar to fighting games. We'll get into that a little bit later. The personality for each character is just absolutely through the roof. I can't wait to see what else they have in store for us with the characters, because literally just the interactions between them and specifically the main characters, Wise and Belle, it's just so nice to be able to have the voice actors be able to talk more for, you know, the main characters. It's nice to have the main characters be able to interact with other characters in the game a lot more. And I don't know, I think it's just really, really cool. So I guess next up is kind of the story. So as far as the story goes, I really like it. I want to say that it is a little slow to start off. It really does not like grab your attention right away. Like the first few kind of scripted cutscenes are all right. I mean, you get a little bit of intrigue, but overall it's just not a very strong start compared to like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail stories. But just overall, I love the story premise. I love how, you know, it's kind of this futuristic world where you're in New Eridu, which is basically this last remaining city on Earth. It's post-apocalyptic, it's futuristic, it's great. I mean, like I said, it does take a little bit to get into, but overall, I have no complaints about it so far. But for those of you who are just absolute story skippers, you don't care for it, at least there's a skip button for you guys, so kudos to that. I may or may not use it in the future, who knows, but at least if you do use the skip button, it gives you a little TLDR. So that way you're not at least, you know, completely lost on what happens in the story. So I guess, next I want to get into the combat. I cannot put this point off until last. Save the best for last, as they say, but combat, I can't do it because, oh my gosh. The combat in this game is absolutely the most fun combat I've had in a Hoyoverse game to date. So, earlier when I mentioned that it's very similar to fighting games, I have no fighting game experience. I mean, I played a little bit of Smash Bros. When I was younger, but other than that, I have no idea what I'm doing. But what I can compare this to is in Genshin, when you're able to use your ultimate right when you're about to get damaged by like a boss's really, you know, gnarly attack, you can use your ultimate and basically get an invulnerability frame, and you basically just iframe it, you know, which I think is really, really cool. But this game just does it like so much better. You have perfect dodges, so if you know, dodge just as you're about to get attacked, there is a little audio cue and like a little starshine kind of graphic that kind of cues you in, but If you dodge at just the right time, you get like this little slow-mo animation, and it looks really cool when you're going through it. And the other thing is there's like a perfect counter, or some kind of a counter attack. So basically when you are about to get attacked, you would just swap immediately to the next character in your team, and you get kind of like this cool counter attack, and then the character gets like kind of pushed back. But like for Anby, for example, if she does that, she like sticks her sword into the ground and like, you know, tries to slow down her momentum from sliding. It's just, oh my gosh, animation for it is cool, but just doing it is even cooler. Another thing that I want to mention is that I love how it's not just like left click button spam, like do your skill, do your ult, get out kind of a situation. I know like in Genshin's combat, for example, I'm going to be drawing a lot of comparisons to other Hoyoverse games with this, because those are really the only reference points that I have. But like in Genshin, there's a lot of characters where you really just want to use their skill to get some energy, you pop their burst, and then you just swap out and get back to your main DPS. And you kind of do that in this game, but there are some supports and some other units that like you want them to be on field for at least a decent amount of time, because they do things that are, I mean, they're more than just do these quick abilities, you know, for 2 seconds and then you never see the character again. You know what I mean? But yeah, I love that, you know, you don't have to just sit there, spam the left click button if you're, you know, using mouse and keyboard. You don't have to button mash. You don't have to, none of that if you don't want to. There's more skill with this game than a lot of the other games that I've seen, and I really like that. I suck at video games, to be honest, but I still love to challenge myself to learn all of the cool mechanics. Like literally each character in this game, it just feels so rewarding when you can pull off their attacks, when you can pull off these perfect dodges, these perfect counters. Just I need to stop talking about it because I could talk about it all day. But the combat in this game overall is just absolute win for me. Absolute win. The only thing that I have to say about the combat that I don't like is it's not hard enough. So at the beginning of the game, you're given the option to pick between like the normal difficulty or there's like a hard difficulty. Normal is for like the super casual players. Like you just want to go through the story, you want to level up your characters a bit, like you don't really want to, you know, deal with not being able to clear the content, is what I guess would be a better way to phrase it. And that's perfectly fine. But for me, I put it on the harder difficulty because I like the challenge. The only thing about that is that I wish that there was like a third hard difficulty, like almost like some games there's like a hell mode. I wish there was like a hell mode, but in this game, because that would be great. Sometimes I feel like I almost don't want to level up my character, so that way I have a little bit more of a challenge. And even then it's not like super hard, but it's still, you know, it feels rewarding when like your characters are under leveled, but yet they can still clear, you know, some of the harder content. I'm hoping that maybe later in a future update they either add a harder difficulty either to the story, or maybe they add a harder difficulty when you are doing the harder content, and then maybe like you get some bonus rewards for again clearing it on that, you know, quote-unquote hell mode. No idea if they're ever going to do it. It's Hoyoverse. They really like to cater to either the whales or the the casuals, like there's not really much of an in-between. I mean, it's hard to say. We'll put it at that. It's hard to say whether they'll add a harder difficulty or not, but I really hope that they do. Next up is the music. Hoyoverse and Hoyo Mix, they kill it every time with their soundtracks. This game in particular, like, I didn't realize how much it was gonna matter to me. Like, don't get me wrong, like I said, I love Hoyo Mix. I love every soundtrack that they've made for Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail so far, but this music literally, it hypes up the gameplay so much, and it makes it feel so much more fun and fast-paced than it probably is, and it just gets me excited to play. So, I mean, other than that, there's nothing really more to say, but just music is top-notch. I love it. Internet level. So the internet level is more or less your kind of level up system. It has like your missions, and it has, you know, it also introduces missions with the day-night cycle. I'll get into that in just a second, but the internet system isn't really, you know, super exciting to say. I just want to point out that I love the attention to detail with it. It really gives it that modern kind of social media feel, and it just really fits in with, you know, the theme and the setting of the story. So that's really cool. The other thing is that it actually, a lot of the, you know, kind of random posts that don't lead to like side missions or side quests, those ones can actually hold some lore significance. So for all you lore hunters out there, it's right there, but it's not like being shoved into your face, and it's not like you can't skip over it if you don't want to. So I think that's really cool. Speaking of side missions and the day-night system, so I didn't realize it until I heard somebody mention it. I honestly don't even remember. I probably heard it from like 8 different people at the same time. But visit every single, like, visit like the overworld area at every single point of the day, because you will literally find so many secret missions that you otherwise wouldn't have known existed. Like, it's a little bit of extra work, but literally you get, I mean, you can't go wrong doing it, because you get account level experience, you get, you know, extra rewards from it. Like I said, there's really no downside to doing it. Another thing with this game, just a random fun fact, is that you can pet the cats. I don't think I've had a Hoyoverse game where you could just actually, you know, pet the animals before, and in this one you can. It has absolutely no gameplay or story significance. It's just a neat fun fact. You can take pictures of them as part of like your daily mission if you want. That's really cool. Super easy. I mean, just pet the cats. It's fun. You can literally sit there and do it all day. So, unfortunately, I don't think that I can avoid talking about the elephant in the room any longer. The TV system. So, everybody's heard of it by now. Everybody's seen it. Most people have played through it. It's not the worst system in the game that I've in any game that I've seen, but it's also not the greatest either. I don't hate it, but I wish it was improved. And this is also gonna slightly tie into the combat a little bit, like as far as my... So this is actually gonna tie into kind of the cons for the combat a little bit. So when you're in the TV system during a mission, there are some stages where you can either have the character, like the NPC characters, kind of fight the enemies for you so you don't have to deal with them, or there's ways that you can get around them. I, however, am the person that literally hunts every single one of them down, because my thing is, if you avoid them, there's really no combat scenarios until you get to the harder content in Hollow Zero and you start doing, you know, kind of like the Spiral Abyss endgame, quote-unquote, content. Like, I literally find myself actively wanting to get to the enemy in the TV system because I want more combat out of the game. So that's kind of a con for the combat because I feel like there's not enough of it, but it's also a con for just in general the TV system. Like, let me fight things, let me not have a chance to miss something or miss like a cool unique interaction that I probably otherwise wouldn't have had. So I hope that if they don't get rid of the TV system, that they at least improve it somehow. I hope that they make it... I don't know exactly how I would even fix it, for example, but I hope that if they don't want to get rid of it, I hope that they fix it. Because it, like I said, it's not the worst that I've seen in a game, but if I'm barely gonna get any combat, at least let me run around, like, and, like, walk to the combat scenario, I guess. So, moving on to kind of my final thoughts about the game. Obviously, this is a gacha game, you have your standard gacha things, but I want to point out that the starter team that they give you with Anby, Billy, Nicole, they are absolutely 100% more than enough to get you through the story. And I think that they are definitely worth investing into, especially if you are like me and you don't want to pull for like the 1.0 and the 1.1 characters off the get-go, just so that way, you know, you can get a feel for what other characters you might like. It gives you a chance to not only have, you know, a really decent starter team that, again, like I said, can get you through the story, it can get you through most of the kind of beginner content, but it also gives you a chance to really, like, hardcore save up your resources for the summoning. So that way you can actually, you know, guaranteed get a character that you want, even if you lose a 50-50. You might even be able to get their signature W engine, which I think is also going to be something like in most Hoyo games. There are some characters where the signature weapon really does kind of make or break their damage output. And considering that this game is literally all focused on combat, I feel like not having a character like with their signature W engine it's not going to necessarily hold your account back, but it definitely will just feel like it'll feel a little bit harder, it'll feel a bit more challenging, which again, that's not a bad thing, but it also might just not feel quite right. Like, some characters might really require their signature weapon in order to perform well. Like, there's, again, in Star Rail, in Genshin Impact, there's a few characters that if they don't have their signature weapon, they just do not feel that great to play at all. So Just kind of putting that thought out there. To go along with that, though, being that this game is focused on combat, being that the starter team that they gave you is fully free to play, I suggest leveling up your starter team and, you know, within the few units that we have, you know, so far, or if you are a person who looks at leaks, I don't normally discuss those, but if you are a person who looks at leaks and you know that there's a future character that you're looking forward to, that you know that you want, raise your starter team, get any support units that you can for that future unit, get that future unit, get those 2 teams, and literally focus only on those 2 teams. So my point is that in a game like this, vertical investment, especially early game, is something that's going to be absolutely key to making this game, like, not the worst. Because a lot of gacha games, early on, they want you to summon, spend your money, summon some more. Believe me, I have played a lot. I have played Summoner's War off and on for like 6 years. It's literally the bait. Literally the bait. But vertical investment, I think, in this game is going to be absolutely key. Having way too many characters that you're trying to focus on all at the same time really going to hurt your account early on. Later, once you start to really get into the combat and you start to really get into, you know, does this playstyle for this character work for me? Do I like it? Etc. Then it probably won't matter so much because you'll at least have some characters, you know, leveled up a little bit. But yeah, vertical investment, I think, is just definitely going to be key. Not to say, though, that it's not worth getting the characters to, I think, at least 30 out of 40, because getting, at least ascending the characters to 30 out of 40 is, how do I word this? Leveling the characters to 30 out of 40 is not so resource intensive that it will hurt your account. Plus, that way you'll be able to get 2 of the standard banner summons out of each character that you have. So that way you can, at least a little bit more quickly, be able to get to that 300 so you can get your, you know, S rank selector unit a little bit faster. So, like I said, overall, I absolutely love this game. I unfortunately was not able to play any of the closed betas, so hopefully one of these days Hoyo will let me, you know, play closed beta for one of their games. But as of right now, I see absolutely no downsides into trying the game unless you literally just don't care or you don't have the time. Being a person who works a full-time job and tries very desperately to do YouTube and do other things and juggle, you know, 3 to 4 gacha games plus at a time, I feel like this game is definitely worth trying, especially considering how small of a game it is. Like, it's not open world exploration like Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves, and it's not so extensive that, like in Star Rail, where you have to worry about speed tuning your units. Like, you don't have to min-max in this game whatsoever, as long as you can understand your characters and how they work, and you know, like, understanding their kits. Like, I think that this game is just overall going to be a really fun experience for not only casual players, but for people who like to challenge themselves, experienced players who, you know, really like this fun, fast-paced action kind of combat game. So I want to know your thoughts in the comments below on Zenless Zone Zero, whether you like it so far, whether you've even tried it, whether you are going to try it. Subscribe so you don't miss out on my video for Zhu Yuan and why I think she is an absolute must-pull unit. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.